and to be effective. You know, part of that is, it's probably not me to micromanage how much they're in a car versus how much they're walking on the street. But what I can do is ensure that we're giving them the powers they need to do their job effectively, whether it's stop and search and other things, which we're doing. You know, whether it's removing as much of the bureaucracy and paperwork from their job as we can, so they can focus on, actually doing the job that you want them to do, which we're doing that as well. And, to the lady's question earlier on about making sure that all the other bits of local councils, state, government, the health service, children's services are doing their jobs, so the police are not having to pick up and try and do all those other things again, so they can focus on what they want to do and what you want them to do. So that's something we're working on as well, so we can just make sure that our police are as effective as possible in doing the things that we want them to do. Right, Sky News. I'm getting hurried up to grapple through.
Prime Minister, you say in this action plan that you're going further than the Advisory Council on the Misuse of Drugs recommended. Well, they recommended that you tackle the illegal supply of nitrous oxide. And a Sky News investigation you might have seen showed that some shops are selling it without verifying ages and even giving balloons with the canisters. What are you doing about the illegal supply? Because it's not just shops, of course, it's also websites. And if nitrous oxide is banned, are these shops and websites still going to be able to continue selling these canisters?
Yeah, no, I mean, you make a good point. Actually, it goes back to the question we're talking about active substance for usage. That's clearly not working, and that's why it's right that we've gone further today. And what we're going to do over the course of the spring and the summer is consult on the best way to do this to make sure that it is effective. Tackling supply is important. That's why we've gone out after county line gangs and disrupted 3,500 of them. It's why we've toughened up sentencing for drug supply. It's why the police have got those things called Project Adder, for example, which is a national program to target drug gangs in particular. So all of those things help deal with supply. We need to get the consultation right on the implementation, because obviously there are a couple of industries where it's used, and we need to make sure that we, catering, healthcare being the obvious examples, so we need to have exceptions for those. So we need to make sure that those people still have access to it, but that needs to be controlled and limited to them, and that we can end its supply to young people who are then using it in a way that none of us want them to be doing. And that's what we'll spend the spring and the summer getting exactly right. Next, Essex Live.
Morning, Prime Minister.
Hi.
The Chief Constable here in Essex has raised concern about the salaries of officers here, saying that more people are having to turn to second jobs, and there are officers who are having to use a food bank as well here. Do you agree with his call for more pay for those officers?
So I hadn't seen the specific report, but what I do know is what we've done more broadly is accept the recommendations of the independent body on pay for police officers. So the government has accepted those and is implementing those. I haven't got the numbers at the top of my head, but there's, I think from about £1,500 type increase. Sorry? 900, more than I thought, so £1,900 increase, I think, as a minimum for police officers, and I'm glad we're able to put that in place. I think the broader point I'd make, though, not just for police officers, but for all of you and for everyone else, public sector, private sector, right? I know things are difficult, right? I know that, every time you get a bill, it's gone up more than you would imagine, more than it's ever gone up, and that is having an impact on your day-to-day living standards, right? And it's not great. I know that that is the #1 challenge, and that's why the top of that list behind me, halve inflation. The thing that's making people feel poorer, the thing that's eating into people's living standards, the thing that's making people be stressed about their pay settlements is inflation. It's inflation that is driving up the cost of living. It's putting up the prices of your energy, your food, and everything else. It's inflation that we need to get down, and that's why my #1 priority is to halve inflation. And we've got a plan. Trust me, the plan will work. We've got to stick with it. It's not easy. It's never easy to root inflation out of a system. But it is not some abstract economic thing. It is inflation that is the thing that is causing all these troubles, right? It's why you're asking me about pay. It's why you're all struggling with energy bills. It's inflation that is doing that, which is why it's really important we stick to our economic plan. We get inflation down, and everything will feel better when we do that. I promise you, right? And, if there's nothing else, I think you can trust that I know how to manage an economy, and you've seen me do it, right? Once we sort this out and we get inflation down, life is going to feel a lot better. And the plan that we've got is the right one. And if we stick to it, I think you're going to see that in your bank accounts. You're going to feel a lot better about things by the end of the year. All right. Next, we've got The Sun.
Prime Minister, we have seen anti-social behaviour crackdowns under every Prime Minister since Blair. Why should we believe you that you're actually going to get this done? And if I may, on small boats, are you concerned this morning that reports that your Home Secretary is being seen as a sock puppet under the influence of Tory MPs who see that your small boats plan doesn't quite go far enough?
Look, so on... cheeky with your two questions, Ryan, but I'll do them quickly. But look, on antisocial behaviour and on me, I've had this job for a few months, right? You guys saw me in the pandemic. You saw what I did. I said I would do these things. I delivered them in the pandemic. As your Prime Minister, I'm very clear about what I'm going to achieve for you. You've seen over the last few weeks, we're getting things done. Okay, we are getting things done, right? Yes, the situation is not easy. Of course it's not easy. There are lots of challenges I'm grappling with, right? But I'm working my socks off for all of you and everyone else in this country. And, I only promise what I can deliver, and I'll deliver what I promise. It's as simple as that. And that's what you'll see about me. There are 5 things behind me. They're very simple. At the end of the year, you'll be able to have me back, or country will have me back and say, well, how are you doing on these things? And you'll be able to say, is he doing a good job or is he not? And I'm confident that I can deliver on the things that I tell you that I'm going to do for you and everyone else. So, trust me on this, as I say, trust me on inflation, that we will make a difference. And look, we are doing some significant things today, right? We are we are banning nitrous oxide. We're increasing hotspot policing. These are very specific things. We're expanding drug tests. We're putting more money into youth provision. These are specific, practical steps that will make a difference on this, right? And that's that. Oh, look, on tackling boats, this is a massive issue, right? Last year we had 45,000 people come to our country illegally, and it's putting an enormous pressure on the system. That number has gone up 4 or 5 times in just a couple of years. All of you have seen the struggle we're having with hotels and everything else, the cost that all of you are having to pay, £5.5 million a day in hotel costs. So it's absolutely right that we get to grips with this problem, and we do it in a compassionate, fair and moral way. And I passionately believe that what we are doing, the way we're going to tackle this problem, is the compassionate way to do it. Because ultimately, all of us, right, this whole country is a generous country. We want to help the most vulnerable people in the world. Of course we do. Right? At the moment, we're not able to even do that because of what's happening to our system, which is why we've got to get a grip on it. And I'll say that the Home Secretary has done a superb job. The Home Secretary and I have worked incredibly closely for the last few months since we've had this job to get the legislation exactly right. It's not easy, right? It is not easy. We need something that is going to be robust, that's going to be effective, and that's what we've got. We've got a new law to stop the boats that's gone further than any other government has ever done, right? So it is a tough piece of legislation, the likes of which we've never seen. But it's important that it's effective, which it will be, but it's also important that we abide by our international obligations, right? This is a country and a government that does follow the law. Of course that's important. We are confident, right? The Home Secretary is confident, I'm confident we've designed a piece of legislation that will tackle this problem and do so whilst being in compliance with laws that we are a party to. I think that's what all of you want, right? You take our reputation as a country seriously. We have found a way to do it. We worked very hard on it. The Home Secretary sat there with me and helped do it over the next few months, and together she and I are going to deliver it. Right, and lastly and quickly, the Telegraph.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Just firstly, on tax briefly, since your tax return was issued, there have been murmurings from Labour that capital gains tax should be brought in line with income tax. Do you think there is any case for that to be examined? And then just briefly, secondly, on Scotland, will you open discussions with the new SNP leader on an independence referendum?
So look, on my tax returns, it was something that I promised I would do in the interest of transparency. I've done it. And look, there'll be a lot of focus on this, that and the other. But I think, look, most of you, I would imagine, as everyone else says to me, is not particularly bothered by it. What they are bothered about what I'm doing for you and everyone else to help with the cost of living. And if there's one thing that I always say when I'm doing these things, there's one policy you can remember, and I never talk about tax policy, because that's Chancellor's job, and when I was Chancellor, I never loved it when the Prime Minister started commenting on tax policy. But, we've just had a budget, so you know what we think about everything. But there's one policy to take away is this, right? We made a difficult decision, I made a decision as Chancellor, to tax the wartime windfall profits of energy companies, exceptionally, and to use that money to help support all of you and everyone else with your energy bills. That support is paying about half of a typical family's energy bill, half, and it's worth about £1,500. Right? So that is what we are doing. That is what this government's values are. That's what our priorities are. And I said to you when I First day I got this job, I promised I'd help with the cost of living, and that's what we're doing, and that's what people should focus on. And what was your other? Oh, right. Look, the SP will do their thing. We'll find out today. Look, I'm very clear that I passionately believe in our union. Right, I passionately believe in our union. I think, hopefully, I was just in Wales the other day announcing some free ports, which are these new post-Brexit economic zones that we can create that are going to create jobs and drive opportunity and investment. I did the same in Scotland. I was happy to work with the Scottish government to deliver 2 free ports in Scotland. We worked with the Welsh government to deliver 2 free ports there. I think all of you have seen the attention and care I've given to resolving the situation in Northern Ireland with the Windsor framework. I care about our union. I think it's very precious. And I always say, look, when my grandparents emigrated, to this country, they didn't come to England. They came to the United Kingdom, and that's because the UK represented a really powerful set of values. And ultimately, it's those values that bind us all together. It's not geography. And that idea that inspired my grandparents to emigrate here, the idea of what the United Kingdom stood for, what we were all about as a society, as a community, that is powerful, it's inspiring, and I will fight very hard to protect it every day that I'm in this job. Good. All right. Thanks very much, everyone. Nice to see you.